When news first broke that Jerry Yen and Tong LIYA were spotted together in Tokyo, it sent shockwaves through the entertainment industry. Not because they were seen walking side by side, but because of the unmistakable spark that lit up the moment. Two of Asia's most beloved stars, one known for his smoldering silence, the other for her graceful elegance, sharing laughter under cherry blossoms as if the world wasn't watching. What fans didn't see was what happened minutes before that clip. According to a waiter at a discreet tea house nearby, Jerry had been waiting with a small notebook in his hand, flipping through pages as if searching for courage. When Tong LIYA arrived, she touched his shoulder gently, leaned in, and whispered something that made him laugh, out loud. A sound rare and precious, the kind of laugh that only escapes when someone lets their guard down completely. Sources say the two weren't there for publicity or work, they were just there. And Tokyo was their chosen hiding place, away from the blinding lights and whispers of speculation. The rented apartment they stayed in was simple. Wooden floors, handwritten notes left on the fridge, a tiny vinyl player spinning old Chinese ballads. Jerry was seen shopping at a corner store wearing a hoodie and slippers, while Tong LIYA danced barefoot on the balcony one early morning as the sun rose behind her. To the neighbors, they weren't stars. They were just two souls wrapped in an untold story. On set months earlier, sparks had reportedly begun to fly. Though they weren't cast as lovers, insiders said their chemistry off-camera eclipsed any scene written into the script. There was a moment during filming when Tong LIYA missed a cue, her eyes locked on Jerry even as the director shouted, "Cut!" Later, she joked about it in an interview, claiming she was distracted by the way someone looked at me. Fans didn't catch it then. But now, that puzzle piece fits. Then came the late-night piano scene, something unrehearsed, not even in the script. Jerry, known for his quiet demeanor, had wandered into the set's music room after rap, fingers trailing along the keys as he played an old melody. Tong LIYA had followed silently, standing behind him, then resting her hand on the piano without saying a word. Cameras weren't rolling, but a crew member recorded a snippet on their phone. Jerry playing, Tong LIYA humming along, the two of them swaying in perfect rhythm. That clip was never meant to leak, but it did. And it became a moment fans couldn't forget. Another jaw-dropping scene unfolded during a magazine shoot. What was supposed to be a cold, minimalistic editorial spread turned into something far more intimate. Jerry, dressed in crisp white linen, stood by a window looking out at the skyline. Tong LIYA entered, laughing at something the stylist said, and he turned, eyes immediately softening. The photographer, stunned, captured the exact second Jerry's gaze shifted from guarded to mesmerized. That photo would later break online engagement records and leave netizens breathless. Off-camera, their story only grew more layered. On Tong LIYA's birthday, a delivery man was spotted carrying a grand bouquet, black roses with handwritten notes tucked between the petals, delivered to her studio. Jerry's name wasn't on the card, but the note simply read, "To the one who makes silence beautiful." In an industry known for scripted moments, their connection felt different. Raw. Honest. The way Jerry touched the small of her back during events, the way Tong LIYA looked at him as if he was her favorite secret, these weren't rehearsed. These were chapters of something real unfolding in real time. No official statement has been made. No confirmation. But do we really need one? Sometimes, love isn't shouted. It's seen in the quietest details. A stolen glance, an unscripted laugh, a bouquet that says everything without saying a word. And in the storm of headlines and paparazzi lenses, Jerry Yen and Tong LIYA are writing their own story, page by page, smile by smile, with no apologies. What most people didn't realize was that the story of Jerry Yen and Tong LIYA had already been unfolding long before Tokyo. Insiders close to both stars claim that their chemistry began to simmer during a private audition rehearsal, one not open to the public or the press. It was supposed to be a routine read-through, but the moment Jerry looked up from the script and met Tong LIYA's gaze, something shifted. The room reportedly fell into silence. Even the casting director, known for being critical, simply leaned back and whispered, "We found something we didn't plan for." From that day on, their interactions on set became the talk of the crew. During lunch breaks, Jerry, famously reserved, would suddenly appear wherever Tong LIYA happened to be. He'd bring 2 cups of jasmine tea, hers always slightly sweeter, just the way she liked it. One makeup artist noted that Jerry once waited an entire hour just to walk her to her car, umbrella in hand, after a shoot wrapped in the rain. It wasn't grand, but it was sincere, quiet gestures that meant more than any scripted line. There was also the unforgettable mountain scene. The two were filming in a remote village, where signal was scarce and the crew had to hike for hours with equipment. One early morning, Tong LIYA had difficulty breathing due to the high altitude. Production paused. What cameras didn't capture was Jerry gently taking her hand, helping her breathe in sync with his count, repeating softly, "You're okay, just follow me." She later called that moment the calmest she'd ever felt in a crisis. At night, the cast would gather by a fire, telling stories. Jerry never shared much, until one night, when he suddenly recited a poem in Mandarin. His voice was low, his eyes fixed on the flames. When he finished, there was a hush. Tong LIYA was the first to clap, her eyes glistening. The poem was about two strangers lost in a foreign land, who found home in each other's silence. Later that evening, she slipped a note into Jerry's coat pocket. No one knows what it said, but he was smiling the next morning in a way that hadn't been seen in years. During a promotional shoot, the crew arranged a spontaneous dance segment, just for fun. Jerry hesitated at first, famously awkward with choreography. But Tong LIYA pulled him in anyway, spinning him with such lightness that the two began to laugh uncontrollably. The video wasn't meant to go public, but once leaked, it went viral. The way she looked at him, completely unguarded, was a kind of cinematic magic that fans called accidentally perfect. What truly stunned everyone, however, was a scene that wasn't even in the final cut of the movie. A deleted moment where Jerry's character confesses a heartbreak while sitting on a rooftop, and Tong LIYA's character just silently places her head on his shoulder. It was so simple, so raw, that many on set teared up watching. Some crew members argued it should have stayed in the final version, but Jerry reportedly requested it be removed, saying, "Some moments are better left for us." And then there was the bracelet. Fans spotted a beaded bracelet on Jerry's wrist during a live interview, one never seen before. A week later, Tong LIYA was photographed at an airport wearing a matching anklet. Internet detectives exploded with theories, but neither of them addressed it. Instead, Jerry was later quoted saying in a cryptic interview, "Sometimes, the loudest confessions are worn, not spoken." Their last day of filming ended in a downpour, fitting, poetic, surreal. As the crew scrambled for cover, Jerry and Tong LIYA stood quietly in the rain, unmoving, facing each other. Tong LIYA later admitted she cried not because it was the final scene, but because some stories stay with you forever, even when the cameras stop. They never announced anything official. There were no social media declarations, no press conferences. But they didn't need to. Because what unfolded between Jerry Yen and Tong LIYA wasn't a publicity stunt. It was something deeper. Quiet, subtle, and hauntingly beautiful. Sometimes, the greatest love stories aren't told in words or posts, but in the spaces between them.